Can you tell us a bit about your respective processes for researching and investigating the subject of your film?
Well, I think the first thing was clearing the rights, approaching the foundation of the poet, the dead poet, and finding out if they're interested in us bringing it back to life and giving it a new interpretation. And that took a while, but once we had that, what we tried to do is, of course, we had our own ideas, but we did want to break away from, a literal interpretation of the poem and just, get our own creative freedom of what it tells us today. What does it mean today? Because it was written 100 years ago. We did go deep into, investigating the Sandberg's environment and the way he wrote and what was inspiring for him. But I think we mostly looked at the world as it is now, and were inspired by mostly events and photographs that we've encountered that are connected to, not necessarily directly to war imagery or to conflicts, but mostly this is a film, or at least we took it towards a direction of interiors. We wanted to deal with what people do inside their homes in different times, in different places. And I think that's where we started our research and came up with 5 small vignettes or stories that are combined together into a one story. It's actually different people doing different things within their rooms. But if you look at it, you see that they're all entering a place, having some kind of an intimate moment with themselves, suddenly discovering that they're being watched by you, by the audience, and then resolving into leaving the room in this way or another. Mm-hmm. So it's the same story told 5 times.
I try to replicate my feeling of the situation, but because I usually take a lot of distance from it, like this, for example, I met this mother when I was 20. I wrote the story when I was 37. Like I finished the story when I really understood it. So there was a lot of distance of time. So what I try to do is to rewrite the story in a way without trying not to shock you the shock that I got when I really saw it. So I try to show you the layers that I see after the long time. And maybe it is obvious in the film that the story was seen from a distance, from a subjective eye, which is actually the night perspective, to make the audience see the layers of the story and the impact, the impact of the war on people from a long distance.
I know that some of these are adapted from source material and historical events, but do any of these films have any kind of autobiographical elements or things from your own life that have been perhaps injected into them?
Probably yes. Maybe not directly, but yes. I mean, we collect story. We're filmmakers, we're storytellers. I think it's this kind of a species that wherever we go, we collect stories, and we're not always aware where we collected them. But there are some autobiographical elements in it for sure, and some are completely not. I think what we try to do is to have some kind of a human spectrum. We have a child, and we have a pregnant woman, and we have an old man, and so it's these are humans in different stages of their lives and places.
Of my film, I'm the main character, and because of my first film was a journal diary. The usual way to do a journal diary is to put the thing in the perspective of the guy who travel, and I think I get the habit of getting used to this approach of being the main character and asking, I would say, silly questions, also like being a kind of naive. And my character arrives and said, "But what is happening here?" And then it's an interesting way to go to dig into some subject. I think in very smooth way. So I think I get this habit of going through those questions along my previous films, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, again, I wasn't lucky enough to kind of like investigate a bit more about all those like memories that my grandfather wrote down. But for me, it was more, the starting point was why exactly he never talked to us about those events. Like, one of the starting point was weird enough, but when I watched, I'm not a big fan of war films, but when I watched 1917, I was reading an interview with the director and he was saying that his grandfather was like talking about those like events quite a lot. And as soon as I read the interview, I was just like, well, why did my grandfather didn't do it? So that was the starting point for me. And obviously I kind of like came to my personal conclusion, which I'm not sure are the right ones, but it's quite exactly what Linoleum is about, which is like the part of memories that probably he didn't want to share that much because they were like very painful for him to remember. And yeah, it was obviously like a different kind of like narrative point of view for me, because I mean, first of all, I am like a film editor. So there, I mean, I just like took advantage of the pandemic and like kind of used like some free time to do my first project as a director and writer. So it was obviously like a different point of view for me and a different kind of like narrative style. But mostly, yes, I was just like reading those memories, trying to like imagine what a 20-year-old might have felt like during those events and try to put them down on paper. Reading about other like things and like talking to other people that are still around us with us today, because most of those people, of course, have now passed. But yeah, it was a great journey. It was like a very, very interesting journey to kind of like discover more about what my life, like the life of my granddad was like when he was very, very young, basically.
Actually, the biographical component would be that I met this person, and it's kind of like, I think maybe unconsciously I was like trying to give that mother that I couldn't do in reality. I couldn't really give her the wish. I was so shocked by her question. So somehow I created this character, Knight, who is higher than human, who's strong enough to understand that there is one thing to save this mother, which is by showing her daughter being dead in a very cruel way, so she can actually survive, she can live. So the kind of, there is the biographical, but I gave a character something that the thing that I couldn't do actually in reality. Yeah, but definitely there is so much, like this mother is one of the people that I lived with for a long time, and she will be with me for a long time. So that's maybe the connection, the direct connection between me and this film.